Good afternoon, welcome. First order of business today is approval of the February 10th meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion?
Move we approve the minutes?
Do I have a motion?
Oh, second. Oh. Good. We move we approve the minutes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Michelle, do we have lobby visitation?
Yes, we do. Jim Evans.
Good afternoon, or I guess I should probably say, well, good afternoon. So I'm here today to support endorsing the City of Bowling Green Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan. I was the community representative on the committee that prepared this plan. My background is as follows. For 50 years, I've been a scientist. For 31 of those years, I've been a professor of geology and hydrology at BGSU. I've also worked for the U.S. Geological Survey, the Minnesota Geological Survey, the Nature Conservancy. I've been a staff member for a U.S. congressman, and I've been an expert witness in a number of important environmental lawsuits. My background includes natural hazards analysis, energy systems, and environmental impacts. According to the World Meteorological Organization, the last 10 years, from 2014 to 2024, have been the warmest 10 years in the past 200 years of instrumented records. This is the first time that that's ever happened. The content of CO2 in the atmosphere is the highest that it has been in the past 2 million years. And the content of methane in the atmosphere is the highest it has been in 800,000 years. Because humanity has only existed for 300,000 years, our species has never faced these conditions before. According to the International Energy Agency, humanity's response to warmer temperatures has been to burn more fossil fuels, including a 1% increase in the use of coal last year, for electricity to run air conditioning, making the climate crisis even worse. Local government needs to be prepared for worst-case scenarios. An example of a worst-case scenario is the simultaneous occurrence of a natural hazard and a power failure. A study this year using the database from poweroutage.us found that between 2018 and 2020, 73% of the counties in the United States had at least one day combining a severe weather event and a power failure. And 54% of the counties in the United States had at least one day combining two natural hazards with a power failure, such as the trifecta of extreme heat, drought, and power failure. There have already been instances where this combination in cities as diverse as Chicago, Portland, Oregon, and Phoenix have resulted in hundreds of excess deaths and thousands of people seeking medical care, overwhelming the local health care system. Over 7,000 local communities in the United States have climate action plans. Bowling Green's plans are not radical. Resiliency is about protecting people's lives and keeping the power on rather than being a political issue. But these plans must be actively used by the city and by the Board of Public Utilities to be meaningful and effective. This plans cannot simply be endorsed today and then set aside. We are running out of time to make changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, Mr. Evans, could I ask a question? Do you have a question?
I'm not used to questions.
Hey, with this plan, do you perceive this as a roadmap for the city to get to net zero?
Well, our original mandate came from City Council, and it was actually approximately a little over 3 years ago that mandate was given to us. And that was precisely what we were asked to do, was to produce some kind of a roadmap. And we've tried to do that. If you look through the plan, you'll notice there are what are called short-term, intermediate-term, and long-term recommendations. And those are based on the regulatory actions that affect the Prairie State Energy campus. specifically the Illinois law that will mandate eventual closing of that plant and planned reductions. That led to us giving those specific 10-year increments for those actions.
But do you perceive that net zero is something that's actually achievable?
Yeah, that's obviously a difficult question because actually we were asked to talk about government operations achieving net zero, not the community of Bowling Green achieving net zero. And you look at a significantly more difficult problem if you talk about the community at large rather than the government, city government itself. Could city government attain net zero? That's very possible because of the scale of city government. What we found through the carbon greenhouse gas emissions inventory is that city government was only responsible for somewhere between 3 and 5% of the carbon emissions in the community. So that becomes a much more manageable goal.
But the plan would affect the whole city, wouldn't it? If
Well,
doesn't the plan recommend getting rid or not, keeping the carbon credits?
What we recommended in the plan was actually using the renewable energy certificates, which the city already receives for the 41% of its energy portfolio, that receives renewable energy certificates, using those to offset the effects of Prairie State.
If I remember, doesn't the plan, when they say by keeping those would result in 4 to 5% increase in our rates, electricity rates?
That is correct. That's a budgetary issue where resolving a environmental issue would result in increased expense. Yes.
What would the citizens be getting for our money?
I'm sorry.
What
was
would
it?
citizens be getting for that additional 5% rate increase?
Well, what they would be gaining from that would be our participation in the renewable energy certificate market, which has effects that go far beyond the city of Bowling Green. They have the effect of making renewable energy more economical and improving the market for renewable energy. That was the intent of the REC program initially. When you look at the REC program, the downside of it is you could say, well, this is just an exercise in paperwork, basically, that you are using certificates from over here to cancel pollution from over there, but the pollution is still occurring, obviously. But on the other hand, there are these intangible effects of expanding the renewable energy market. And that was the reason that REC program went into effect. There are obviously no easy decisions here. If there had been, they would have been made a long time ago.
Right, yeah. Okay, it's just my concern that I'm all for efficiency. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a laudable goal to be as efficient as possible. It's just that rates are not going down. I mean, they're by themselves, they're going to be going up, and anything on top of that, and it's a legitimate concern for everybody in the city.
I actually take issue with that statement. When you say rates are going up, the figures that were quoted to me is per kilowatt hour, we pay 6.6 cents for Prairie State coal, and we pay 3.4 cents for solar and 4.7 cents for wind. So shifting to renewable energy would in fact lower costs, assuming that we're using...
When the wind is blowing and the sun is shining.
Well,
I mean,
yes.
that's a major issue.
And if you read through the report, there's information in there about battery storage and how in the state of California, they now get 20% of their electricity through battery storage units. And this is something where the cost has gone down 80% over the last decade. And that is a future way of making those renewable energy. You look skeptical, but...
Because rates in California are probably quadruple what they are here.
Well, yes, I understand that, but you've got to start at some point, and what we've seen over time is that the costs of renewable energy have gone down significantly. And that's because as you bring these new technologies up to scale, you begin to see real economic impacts of that.
When the sun is shining and... wind.
Well, okay, but you haven't provided me with an alternative. So is your alternative to use coal forever? You know, the US EPA, before the recent administrative change, said that Prairie State was the 8th worst polluting plant in the United States.
Well, it's going to work itself out.
That's not going to work itself out. Coal is going to go. There's no question about it. It's merely a matter of time. And I wish that the city of Bowling Green was the good guy in this, but we're not. We're the bad guy in this because we're supporting a technology which is causing the very problems that we're dealing with.
Okay.
Don't forget that that long-term contract with Prairie State was made under vastly different economic conditions. That was a time when there was perceived to be a coming crisis in the availability of natural gas. And almost immediately after Bowling Green signed that, we had the fracking boom, which completely made that obsolete, that arrangement obsolete. There are no economic values to our continued reliance on Prairie State.
Well, I mean, is it when the contract is going to naturally expire on its
Well,
own?
we're not an individual in that contract.
Right.
We are a member of AMF. There are 60 AMF members who are members of that contract. Obviously, we cannot act independently of all of that, but I fail to see why we can't go to those 60 members of AMF and say, what would you collectively like us to do about this? And if all 60 of us say, let's get out of that contract, we would.
Yeah.
People break and change contracts all the time. People renegotiate their mortgages. That's changing a contract. It's not something that you can, I mean, the city attorney has a very strange view on this subject in saying, oh, you can't break a contract. Really? I thought that's what lawyers were for.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Utility Director report.
Okay, thank you. My item is for the Carter Park and Western Water Tower improvements project. So we've talked about this for a couple of years now, and we're finally getting close to getting plans together, get out for bid. We're down to the last few steps of the process, which is trying to get the THM removal equipment that's going to be put into the towers permitted by the EPA. In the past, they didn't look at these as water quality improvement a piece of equipment, and they wouldn't require you to go get a plan approval through their process. But the last year or two, they've changed their opinion about the mixers and the THM removal systems, and now they do require a plan approval. So that's not a long process to get through, but it is another step we have to get past. We did hire a company called TIC, Tank Industry Consultants, to help us with the design and getting the plans and specs together. In the past, we've had these projects separated into two separate projects. One was going to get a loan, one was not. Due to timing and funding issues, we weren't able to get that done last year. So in this current year's budget, we combined them into one project, and we identified an EPA loan for both of those improvements with both the towers. So we need approval from the board and city council to take action on the loan agreements that will eventually come our way after we get through the bidding process. And there's still some work to do to get to that point, but to sign that loan agreement requires an ordinance and approval from the board and city council. So that's what we're here to ask you today, is to give us permission to enter into a loan agreement with the Ohio EPA for their water supply revolving loan account. Most of our large capital projects for water, whether it's at the plant or in the distribution systems, are funded through this program. It's a low interest loan that the EPA administers. It's associated with the Ohio Water Development Authority, the OWDA, as well. That's where most of the money actually comes from, is OWDA, but EPA offers a lower interest loan because we're a good customer and we pay our bills, and so they give us a discount on the interest rate. Yeah, so the project really hasn't changed in scope from when we talked about it a couple years ago. but we just need this loan approval in order to keep the project moving forward. So be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve Resolution 03-2025-01, authorizing the Utilities Director to execute an agreement with the Ohio Water Development Authority or the Ohio EPA Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Program for the design, engineering, and construction of the Western Water Tower and Carter Park Water Tower improvements.
Second.
All right, Michelle, roll call.
Newlove,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Suzik.
Yes.
Passed.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry I didn't put it on the agenda, but it's just an informational item to update some capital projects that we've had ongoing, and we haven't talked about some of these for a while, but some we have. Just a couple I'd like to highlight for you. At the water plant, the low-service pump station project, that job went out for bid, and Peterson Construction was awarded the contract. We did have a kickoff meeting with them back in earlier March. Also, the membrane expansion project, we've hired an engineering firm out of Florida, Kimley Horn. They've got expertise in reverse osmosis and microfiltration systems like what we have. Actually, the main, one of the lead engineers on the project is, he originally worked on the project back in 2010 when it was constructed for the city with a different company, also out of Florida. But they have vast knowledge and expertise about membrane plants, and that's who started that project. Again, we had a kickoff meeting with them earlier in March. On the distribution and collection side, a couple projects being looked at in-house is Park Avenue water line. This is over by the BGSU, and the new technology buildings are being constructed over there just south of the airport. Wallace Avenue water and sewer lines. Again, that's more in closer to downtown area. There's a block that we're looking to replace water and sewer lines in that area. And then the village pump station. This is a wastewater pump station that is just east of the village, right there by the high school property. We did contract with the company ELI, Energy Land Infrastructure, as a design engineer for that project. ELI is also doing the work on Nims Road. At the water pollution control, the moisture odor control, we did open bids in February, and we awarded a contract to Peterson Construction. The work will begin later in 25 as they get equipment ordered. This is some longer lead times because of the odor control equipment that has to be manufactured or assembled and shipped to us. And then the final clarifier improvements project, that is plans are pretty much done and ready to go. We're waiting for the final approval from the EPA on our contract documents. They have to review and approve, make sure that everything that they require as part of their wastewater loan program, the WPCLF program, that we've got all that included in the contract. So their EPA is reviewing that now. Once they give us their approval that those documents are complete and up to their standards, then we'll be able to proceed and get it out for bid. Ideally, that'll be back to us by the end of March, and then bidding it in April, hopefully opening bids by the end of April for that project. On the electric side, the Carter Park ball field lights, those are mostly installed and up. This be some cleanup work in this spring. The lighting manufacturer will come back and actually aim the lights to make sure the fields are lit properly per the specifications. Pickleball courts, that was bid out earlier this year. It does include a lighting package. The electric division electric budget is helping to fund that. Work is going to begin on that project in 2025. The downtown decorative lighting pole project, that's going to be opening bids here on the 25th, so this week, tomorrow. And the Northern Circuit improvements, this is trying to get another circuit to 582 to provide some additional reliability for customers that are north of town. That design is 90% complete, and we've got some easements to acquire yet. Be happy to answer any questions you may have for the other ones that are on the list as well, but that's a general highlight of some things we've been working on and continue to work on.
Any questions? Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, Assistant Utility Director report.
Good evening. First thing I have for you is the water treatment plant clarifier improvements. Back in the fall, when we worked on the 2025 budget, we discussed this project and we included $2.1 million for improvements for the clarifiers. They're basically in need of repair, just preventative maintenance due to normal use, age, and general wear. They were originally built back in 1967, and in the early 2000s, they had undergone some improvements and repairs at that time. The anticipated scope of work for this project will be removing and repairing corrosion on steel components, cleaning, repainting steel surfaces, removing and replacing launders with stainless steel, replacing drive mechanisms, gearboxes, and rotating assemblies. The project will ensure reliable operation of the conventional treatment side of the plant. There are no compliance issues or standards violations to be corrected with this project. And what we're asking for is your approval for us to pursue the OWDA, OEPA, WSRLA loan application for the project. You have any questions?
Questions?
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve Resolution 032025-02, authorizing the Utilities Director to execute agreement with the Ohio Water Development Authority or the Ohio EPA Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Program for the design, engineering, and construction of the water treatment plant clarifier improvements.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Michelle, will you read the roster?
Suzik,
Yes.
Pogan,
Yes,
Jesse,
Yes.
Newlove.
Yes.
passed.
Thank you. Next item I have for you, Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan Adoption, known as CARUP. We presented it to council and board in the fall of 2024. Per the original resolution, the CARUP is to be reviewed and approved by the board, city council, and the mayor. So we're here to ask the board to approve the plan. This plan outlines strategies for sustainability and climate action. And once formally adopted, it will signal the city's commitment to the plan's goals and strategies. We recommend, I guess I'll say, as Jim mentioned, Bowling Green's plan is not extreme by any means, but a seemingly reasonable approach to reach the goal of net zero. And also, in the original resolution drafted by council, the plan is to be reviewed and revised as necessary, but at least once every 5 years. So there's a chance for changes, additions, subtractions, or just seeing how the plan evolves over time. Some things may become irrelevant, some things may become more critical. So we recommend that the board approves the resolution to adopt the 2024 Climate Action and Resiliency Plan as we presented it to you.
Jim, does that mean you agree with everything in the plan,
Yeah,
including us maintaining the credits that's going to result in 4 or 5% increase in electric rates for the city of Bowling Green?
I think the plan words that as things to be considered. There's suggestions for ways in which we can achieve that. They ask that we hire a consultant, a third-party consultant to evaluate that for us. And then ultimately, you know, it will come back to the board to decide, you know, how the money is spent.
Well, my concern is if this gets approved, that plan is going to be used as, say, hey, the plan says, so we got to keep these credits and then resulting in an increase in rates.
Yeah, I think the plan,
That's my biggest concern. I'm all for the efficiency and all that. I have no issue with that. It's just the fact that if the plan's going to be used as a, you know, and it says in here that we have to, you know, we should, and that's going to put pressure on the board and to keep those and you know, for what benefit? I mean, I don't see a benefit in that, quite frankly. It's not going to result in a hill of beans of, obviously, in the scheme of things.
sure.
That's my major concern I have with that whole plan.
I think that it leaves the door open for us to either keep the recs, as Jim said, that from our own projects, or to sell those recs and buy lower cost recs, which is called rec arbitrage. Those are things that a consultant could help us figure out and place a real dollar number to those. There seemingly always ways and money that people offer for incentives and programs that, you know, we could plant tree canopies or buy recs or do something like that. And I think you know, if we're talking strictly like an energy manager, I see where you're coming from, but I think it was the.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I think the board has a responsibility to keep rates down
Absolutely.
as much as possible as the city does to the residents of Bowling Green. And it just some plan that says, oh, we gotta, you know, sell our recs for, you know, it's gonna result in a rise. I think that's a hard sell
So
for anybody.
what is the cost and the risk of not adopting this plan?
You know, I'm not
I mean, well, plus,
sure of that. My guess is, you know, it would be kicked back and then be asked to do it again or revise the plan or come up with a different plan. I think, you know, as city council, as the representatives of the community, they feel like that's the will of the community is to
That's not the will.
adopt a plan.
But I
Will of
mean,
the
I think the
community?
plan is it's keeping our focus on this as we make these decisions. I mean, it's reminding us to look at the impacts our decisions are having. It's not requiring us to do something or not do something, but it's reminding us that we have an impact and we should be looking at that as we make these decisions.
mean the plan?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm just concerned that someone's gonna throw that in our face and say, hey, you guys approved this plan, that means we gotta sell our credits and,
Well, the plan's saying that we're going to take all these things into consideration as we do make those decisions. So I don't think that's
I mean, I don't have any problem with anything else in the plan, quite frankly. Like I said, I'm all for efficiency, which was proven out in this, you know, when we redid this building. That's all great and wonderful. It's just the fact that I think we have a responsibility to keep the residents, you know, the rates down to as reasonable as possible, you know, in light of, without piling on something above and beyond for absolutely no reason at all.
Does the adoption of the Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan supersede the board's approval or council's approval on any business measure?
I don't believe it does. Ultimately, the board and council will vote
It
any
still has to go
plan
through
forward.
a resolution process to move anything further that would be suggested in that climate plan, that still would have to go through this office, through this board, and to city council, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just a reminder, like, any rate adjustments are approved by the board and solely by the board. So if there was ever a plan that came before you that suggested we, sell RECs or don't sell RECs, and that's going to cause an increase in rates, obviously the board will have that information and will know what that impact is, or there'll be a plan in place to say, here's a suggestion or recommendation for you to consider.
Could you review the process again of selling or keeping those RECs? How would that proceed? How would that have to happen? If, say, for example, hey, you recommend selling our RECs, or keeping them. Who would make that decision? How would that come about?
Our AMP, our power portfolio managers, the power supply manager, right now, they take we sell all the RECs from our projects that we have, and they write us a check for what they get for those RECs on the market. We just wouldn't get, they would send us the certificates ourselves at the end of the day.
If
and
we wanted to
would,
keep them.
if we wanted to keep them,
Makes that decision, how would that happen?
we would simply tell them we don't wish to sell the RECs associated with our,
Brian, you would, or the mayor, who?
oh,
Your
ultimately,
call,
it would-
Brian?
it would be based on, we wouldn't do that without your approval.
Is that something that we would have to approve?
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep that?
Yes, I agree.
Further questions, comments?
I do believe that the goal of this board and the purpose of this board is to act as a advisory and to take on these hard questions that ultimately we will be asked to answer. To Rick's point, I think the protections of our process of approval of items, this is not foregoing that. And we have a chance to discuss those at each intersection that we get to and make the best decision that's available to the community. I believe that this improvement plan is not perfect, but it does give a roadmap of some of the goals.
Goals of what?
To improve our environmental position here.
Efficiency?
That would be one of them.
If the goal is the goal of this net, like I asked him, is the goal of this net zero, some pie in the sky, net zero? Is that the ultimate goal? Is that what this is a roadmap for?
I think, Rick, if you read through the entire proposal, you can clearly see what the goal is.
Well, why is it references net zero in there?
I think that's one of their goals, yes.
That's fantasy land.
That may be, but a goal versus an obtainable action could be two different things. And I think that's what your concern is, that we're going to lose control over that discussion, that the city council, which is our elected officials who brought this to the table, would not have the opportunity to speak to it, that this would overstep their decisions there. And I don't believe that to be the case, Rick.
Michelle?
Was there
Oh.
We need a motion.
Motion.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I move are we adopt, approve? Oh, here, you have it. I move we approve Resolution 03-2025-03, a resolution adopting the 2024 Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan.
I'll second the motion.
Newlove,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Suzik,
No.
I'll add to I believe adoption of the plan requires the utility board, the city council, and the mayor to all approve it. So just because you approved it, that's one step. If the city council and the mayor don't approve it, then, I don't know if that it would be meaningless what we did now, but we would have to start the process or discussion or plan over again. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All All right, utilities management reports, electric division, Matt?
Yeah, we currently have crews replacing poles on Mitchell Road for fiber clearances for Buckeye and other companies that are coming in. We're also starting the second edition of Stonebrook subdivision. We're starting the infrastructure on that this week, so that's it.
Thank you. And water supply, Mike?
We got some masons out there doing some work on the buildings, and like Brian said, we had a pre-construction meeting for the membrane and pre-construction for the low service.
Thank you. Water distribution, Eric?
We're currently just routine water and sewer maintenance. For the water part, sewer, we are concentrating on the catch basin, getting cleaned, jetting lines, stuff like that.
Thank you. And water pollution, John?
Crew's busy doing preventative maintenance. That's all we have.
Thank you. Utility business office, Jackie?
We've had some promotions of staff in our department. We had a customer service specialist who was promoted to a finance specialist, and then a finance specialist who was promoted to assistant utility business office manager. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And official reports, Mayor? No report. Municipal Administrator Lori? And City Attorney? Public Works Director, Mick, I'm sorry. City Engineer?
Like Brian mentioned, we have a downtown decorative pole bid opening tomorrow to paint downtown, the poles, trash cans, things like that. Then we also have a bid opening on Thursday for the South Main paving project, the one that I've been talking about here. So, but yeah, we open bids for that on Thursday. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And Communications Director?
So we are going to have a little bit of a change in our department. Our Community Affairs Coordinator, Hallie Williams, has been hired as the new Downtown Director. So it's with mixed emotions that, of course, we're super excited for her. We know she's going to do great, amazing things down there. We'll still be partnering with her on, I'm sure, many of the downtown initiatives that will shake out from this new promotion for her. A little sad, obviously she's done a lot of work for us, and she was the first person to hold that position here at the city. We do have that position posted. It will be posted until April 4th, and I'm happy to report we already have like at least 25 applications in the past couple of days. So excited about the new position. We're excited about finding a good qualified candidate. Rachel's been taking on a lot of the responsibilities for primarily utilities communications over the past year. So I don't know how much this person will do some of the utilities load, but again, a new face and someone who'll be active in our outreach for our department here in the next couple of weeks or so.
Thank you. Thank you. Council member reports? Board member reports? New business? Unfinished business? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
You were waiting before.